Good morning, fourth graders. Here is some help with your math word problems today. It says, please make sure you solve using the RDW method. You may solve these on paper and then type your answer in the text box provided. All right, so I'll grab my pencil and it says, Louise's family went on vacation to Disney World. Their vacation cost $5,990. Sophia's family went on vacation to Niagara Falls. Their vacation cost $4,720. Both families budgeted about $5,000 for their vacation. Whose family stayed closer to the budget? Round to the nearest thousand. Use what you know about place value to explain your answer. So first, let's take a look at Louise's family because their vacation cost $5,990. So when we think about rounding, I take a look at that first number and it was 5. So that would be a 5,000 would go down here. And then if we were counting by thousands, the next number would be 6,000. And so we're trying to see, is it closest to 5,000 because that was their budget? That means that's how much money they wanted to spend. Or is it closer to 6,000? All right, so we know always the midpoint would be a 5. So it would be 5,500 in the midpoint. And then each line in between would be another 100. So it'd be 5,100, 5,200, 5,300, 5,400, 5,500. The line's already there. 5,600, 5,700, 5,800, 5,900, and then 6,000. You could always label these if you want. You don't really need to. That'd be 5,100, 5,600, 700, 800, 900. So we know that they spent $5,990. So if I think about that, 5,900 would be somewhere here, 5,600, 700, 800, 900. And it was a little bit more than 900. It was actually right about here. And so would this number be closer to 6,000? It would just be a tiny step away. Or would this number be closer to 5,000? And it's pretty obvious in this one that this number, 5,990, is closest to 6,000. So 5,990, if we were rounding to the thousands place, would be closest to 6,000. All right, but they had a budget of 5,000, so they weren't very close. But let's check the other family, and I'll use a different color. Sophia's family went on vacation, and they spent $4,720. So we're starting here with the 4,000. That would go down here. Remember when we count by thousands, after 4,000 would be 4,000, and up here would be 5,000. And then we need our midpoint. It's always 5. So it will be 4,500. And then each line in between would be a 100. So it would be 4,100, 4,200, 4,300, 4,400, 4,500. And the line is already here. 4,600, 4,700, 4,800, 4,900. So they spent 4,720. So that's close to 4,700. So I look here, 4,500, 600, 700, and a little bit above that would be 4,720. Were they closer to 5,000 or were they closer to 4,000? And you can see we're only about a little over $200 away from 5,000. So this would round to 5,000. So 4,720 is closest to 5,000. And since the budget was $5,000, and this family, Sophia's family, spent almost 5,000, but Louise's family spent almost 6,000, Sophia's family was closest to the budget. And so now I can type that in here, and I'll write Louise's family spent almost $6,000 on their vacation. Sophia's family spent almost $5,000 on their vacation. Sophia's family stayed closer to the budget of $5,000. Okay, so remember, you can always pause the video if you needed to write this down. All right, let's go on to the next slide. And let me erase a little bit down here. Marcia's brother wanted help with the first question on his homework. The question asked the students to round 128,902 to the nearest thousand, and then to explain the answer. Marcia's brother thought that the answer was 128,000. Was his answer correct? How do you know? Use pictures, numbers, or words to explain. All right, so Marcia's brother has to round the number 128,902 to the nearest thousand. So I think here's my number in the thousand spot. So when I put it on my number line like this, I have 128,000, and the rest of the numbers turn to 0. All right, and then I could have 129,000 at the other end, because what comes after 128? That would be 129. And we just make them into thousands, and we draw the midpoint. So it would be 128, and the midpoint is always 5, so it would be 500. And now we can put the lines in between. So it'd be 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800, 900. Now let's look here. We have 128,902. 900. So if this is 500, 600, 700, 800, 900 would be right around here. 128,902. And now I think, is this number closer to 128,000, or is it closer to 129,000? And you're right, it's closer to 129,000. But that's not what he said. He thought it was closer to 128,000. So was his answer correct? It would be no. Marcia's brother did not get the answer correct. 128,902 rounded to the nearest thousand is 129,000. There you go. And we can move on to the next slide. And let me erase some of this. All right, in 2012, the Super Bowl had an attendance of just 68,658 people. If the headline in the newspaper the next day read about 70,000 people attend Super Bowl, how did the newspaper round to estimate the total number of people in attendance? All right, so now that we read it, let's think about our drawing. They know that exactly 68,658 people were at the Super Bowl, but the newspaper said about 70,000. So how did they round? Well, let's think about that. If there was 70,000 here, and here we had 60,000. This would be 65,000 because 5 is always the midpoint. We think 60, 65, 70, and then we could put our lines in between. 60,000, 100, 200, 300, 400, or 61,000, 62,000, 63,000, 64,000, 65,000, 66,000, 67,000, 68,000, 69,000. So we would have 65, 6, 7, 8. 68,000 would be right about here. And they said 68,658 would be closest to 70. So they rounded by that place value. And if you think about your place values, it goes ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, and then after thousands is 10,000. And so they said they rounded it to 70,000. So what place value did they round to? They rounded to the 10,000s place. The newspaper rounded to the 10,000s place. And I spelled newspaper wrong. I forgot the S. And that was all you needed. It's a 10,000s place. And then we'll go to number 5. And this should be the last one. In 2011, the Super Bowl had an attendance of 103,219 people. If the headline in the newspaper the next day read about 200,000 people attended the Super Bowl, is the newspaper's estimate reasonable? Use rounding to explain your answer. All right, so we're doing this again. Oh, it's a little too far over. Let me start here. And so since we started here with 103,219 people, that was the exact amount. So that would be 100,000. And the newspaper said there was about 200,000, so that would be up here. We're counting by 100,000s, 100,000, 200,000, 300,000. All right, and our midpoint would be 100,000, 150,000. 5's always the midpoint, so if I think 10, 15, 20, that always helps me. So this would be 100,000. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 60, 70, 80, 90. So it would be 110,000, 120,000, 130,000, 140,000, 150,000, 160,000, 170,000, 180,000, 190,000. And so let's think, where would we put this number on our number line? It says 103. Well, if each line in here is a 10,000, this is 110,000, 120,000, and we would keep going. 103 is less than 110. In fact, it's closer down here, right? 103 is less than 110. So really, if this would be here, they should have rounded it to 100,000. But the newspaper said it was 200,000. So were they reasonable? And the answer to that would be no. The newspaper's estimate is not reasonable. The newspaper should have rounded the amount of people at the Super Bowl to 100,000 because it's closer to 100,000, not 200,000. And I hope that helped.